Hey, gun people. Sorry, I stole that line from a channel that my wife likes to watch. And the guy does horse training, he does gun training. Plus, he's an ex cop, so he does cop horror stories. Anyway, good evening, gun people. Let me go ahead and tell you, I absolutely suck at these things. So I apologize in advance for rambling, stuttering, or etc. I also want to apologize for this corner of my workshop. Um, Currently kind of is just a mess, but I'm in the middle of a couple of different projects. So I've got things kind of stacked around that I still need to get off my butt and finish. But for the time being, at least my work table here is clear enough to do what I want to do tonight. So what I wanted to go over was uh, a buddy of mine asked me how I was doing with the creation of our new gun range. And I've cleared it out, and it's a good 20-yard gun range. It's got a nice berm in the back, a natural backstop, if you will. Um, but I haven't really had the time or the money to build any targets or etc. So the other day I went out and I bought two shepherd hooks and a 3-inch or 3/8 inch AR 500 steel, and dropped it out there real quick. And it's kind of shagged. It's not very stable. I'm not happy with it. It works. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was able to get some bullets down range and the satisfactory, ding of a Gong. But I don't like it. It looks kind of cheesy. And so I started looking on YouTube, and I came across a guy that had designed a steel target stand out of gas piping. And I looked online, and I could have bought a stand, and it would have been about $160 plus shipping. Seemed kind of expensive, and it didn't really look to be all that sturdy. Whereas this guy that I saw on the YouTube, it was pretty sturdy. So went up on Lowe's, built a parts list out just by memory of what I saw him do, and was rather surprised to see that it was about $160. For giggles, I took that same parts list, went over to HomeDepot.com, checked it out. Sure enough, I could get it for about $115. So I went out and I bought all the parts tonight, about 115, 120, somewhere in that range after tax. And basically, it should be as simple as assembling as if you can screw a nut onto a bolt, you're good. So give me a second here. I'm going to pause it, and I'll give you a parts list real quick. So again, I apologize for the shoddiness of my work table here. Like I said, I'm in the middle of a couple of projects. Most importantly, working on my generator project. Still not quite finished with it yet. Look at all the golf balls I found just in the backyard. But anyway, I digress. So right off the bat, figured I'd pick up two carabiners. Some folks call these spring latches, carabiners, hooks. Hell, I don't care. I don't know what you call them, but they're 3/8. They're sold as spring links. They're like $2.50 a piece. All of these fittings, by the way, are 3/4 inch black gas pipe fittings. So I'm not going to keep repeating 3/4 inch, but two nipples, 4 caps, which we'll use as legs, two 90-degree elbows, two 2-inch nipples, two T's, two 45-degree angle elbows, a box of chain. It's the same chain I used when we created that gun range over at Hunter's Point. They held up pretty well. As long as you aren't stupid enough to shoot the chain, it should be just fine. Jesse, I'm looking at you. The legs are pretty simple. 18 inches, basically 1.5 feet. Those are going to be the back legs. The front legs will be 2 foot, 24 inches. And then the bar will be 4 foot. Okay, so all of this together, again, after tax, about $120, and it should be real simple just to twist it all together. Each of the bars come with the red caps. I haven't quite made up my mind yet. I might just take these caps back because they're like $2 a piece, and just use the plastic caps as legs. Then again, I might just use that, and that keeps the mud and the water and the bugs and the critters. Towards the end of this video, I'll show you one that I actually bought online for about the same price as what I paid to get this, and you'll see the differences, I guess, in the sturdiness. So hang loose and we'll start assembling. One thing I wanted to bring up, you can get these pipes and these fittings in all a plethora of different combinations and setups, but for this application, and the light's not going to work with me here, all of the pipes are threaded, and all of the fittings are threaded female. So literally you should be able to just screw this together with minimal fuss. I mean, I'm sure you could put adapters on it and blah blah blah. I was going to go with a 1/2 inch piping and fittings, by the way, much more cheaper, but I was concerned about the sturdiness. That metal gong is about 60 pounds, and though the carabiners are set up to carry 150 pounds apiece, you know, you got to figure the impact of the bullet and the velocity of the bullet. It's going to make it move quite a bit. So I wanted something that would kind of stand the test of time, if you will. I even toyed with the idea of maybe filling these pipes up full of dirt, just to kind of, you know, make them a little more sturdy. But we'll see. We'll test it out and go from there. But wanted to, again, say you could go, you know, 1/2, 3/4, 1 inch. You can go as small or big as you want. Depends what you're going to use it for. In this case, I think this 3/4 fitting is going to be the best. One thing I'd like to kind of throw in here real quick is one of the reasons I went with this gas pipe style setup is that, you know, it's not all that heavy. Fully assembled, this stand probably won't weigh more than 20-30 pounds. It's small enough where you could break it down and put it in the back of your truck or your car, transport it to wherever you need to go, and then reassemble it really super quick. So to that end, I'd be real cautious about, you know, over torquing or tightening the pipes into the elbows of the T's and the caps and whatnot, depending upon, you know, how often are you going to move it around, transport it. If you're going to leave it somewhere permanent, kind of like what I'm going to do, maybe then you'd want to kind of torque it down just a little bit, just to make sure, you know, that it doesn't vibrate loose or whatnot. But if you're not going to be transporting it, or I'm sorry, if you are going to be transporting it and whatnot, maybe you want to be kind of careful with how tight you do this, how tight you assemble it. Always leave it as a loose fitting. That way, if you need to do any adjustments, you can. But you know, it helps if you got a vise, but you don't need one. Just wanted to throw that out there. Be kind of careful with how you put these things out. Okay, so again, nothing fancy, just a bunch of gas piping put together. And as you can see, I've pretty much assembled it the way I want it to be. Kind of went with the long legs in the front because, again, this is going to be sitting onto a berm, if you will, and I'll adjust the back legs to kind of go to the right after I get it set up on the berm, to kind of make it lay down a little bit, if you will. So, you know, again, because this is going to be sitting on a hill type situation, one leg is shorter than the other. And I could have probably gotten away without using the 2-inch nipples and the 45-degree elbows. And I might still take those out and just go the 1.5 inch pipe directly to the elbow and kind of spin it. But for the time being, you know, wanted to be safer than sorry, make sure I had all the parts. And if I need to take those out, I'll take them out. No big deal. But basically, you know, this is 23 inches off the deck. Obviously I'll have some hooks, the carabiners somewhere in there, and then I'll have the steel gong hanging from that. And but that's a good start. So since I'm just a moron and can never remember the old adage of measure twice and cut once, I measured incorrectly and thought that the 3/8 carabiners would slide over the pipe with no problem. Well, guess what? They didn't. They don't. Luckily, I had two metal straps from another project that I was doing here in the garage, and so I repurposed them. Basically, very simple to do. If this thing will focus, simply bent it around the pipe, used a piece of chain from that earlier chain that I built and showed you, stick the chain through the carabiner, and it wiggles and jiggles and does everything it's supposed to do. I'm probably going to take these carabiners out and use something a little smaller. They seem to be a little bulky. They don't seem to quite be doing the job right. Yeah, I said in my other video section I was going to call it a night, but I sat here and I started doing some measurements, and I'm definitely not happy with those carabiners. So I think tomorrow I'll run down to the hardware store and I'll pick up a couple of heavy-duty S hooks, maybe 4. 2 to go through the clamps, straps, and 2 to go through the target, maybe with a piece of chain in between. I think that's what I'm going to do. So we'll pause it here. Here we are with the completed Gong. As you can tell, I did indeed go with smaller carabiners, and then one link on a chain. And so here it is in the back of the truck. I'm going to pull it out in the woods tomorrow and paint it and then drop it. But it is completed and makes a real satisfying ding. So there you go, finished up. Now I just got to drop it and chase some lead, and the next video I'll do will be one that I bought prepackaged for roughly the same price, and you'll see the difference in the quality between this stand and a pre-purchased stand. See ya.